Hey there, thanks for joining me today. This is Laura Lynn with Keep Inking Up. I'm an independent demonstrator for Stampin' Up in San Antonio, Texas. And today I wanted to share 5 different card ideas using the Pretty Flowers Embossing folder. I don't know if you're like me, but I totally overlooked this embossing folder, and so I wanted to make sure that you all knew about it. It is found on page 155 of our 2021-2022 annual catalog. It's right here, Pretty Flowers, and it has a little N next to it, which means it's new. I should always look for those N's because I just don't know what I'm missing. Anyway, I hadn't noticed this embossing folder, and then I saw a fellow demonstrator use it, and I just knew that I had to have it, and hopefully you'll understand why by the end of this video. I do have 5 ideas that I want to share with you. So anyway, this is a standard embossing folder, which means that to use it with the cut and emboss machine, you're going to need your platform number 1, and you're going to need 2 number 3 plates, and you're going to sandwich the paper inside the embossing folder, put this through, and run it through your die cut machine. If you have a different die cut machine, you'll need to follow those instructions for a standard embossing folder. So anyway, so let's get to the ideas. The first card idea I had is this one, and this one just simply uses the embossing folder as is with nothing extra on it. I did want to show, though, hopefully you can see that what I had done is I embossed a piece of polished pink cardstock, and I want to show you the 2 different sides. This is the embossed side, and this is the debossed side. And for my card, I actually used what would, I guess, most of the time be considered the wrong side. But you can use whichever side that you like. I happen to like the way this looked, and I just added a couple of pearls on there. And this thanks sentiment is from the artistically inked stamp set. I love this large thanks. And I just stamped it in the coordinating polished pink colors, ink color. You know how I love the color coordination between products, and then I just fussy cut that out. So that's the first idea, so I'm going to set that aside. The next one, and the reason why I really just had to have this versus any other folder, is that it coordinates perfectly with some of our designer series paper. This is our pattern play. See, I forgot to bring it in here. This is the Pattern Party Designer Series paper. This is a huge paper stack that has 12 different designs. I have cute little tags here to show you. These are all the different patterns in that. You get 12 patterns with 4 sheets of each, and it is a host reward item, so you can earn this for free with a $180 order. Or you can go in on with some friends and order with that. And like I said, there's 4 sheets of each one of these pattern papers. There's 12 of them. Hopefully I can fan them all out. Hopefully you can see all of those. So there's 12 different designs. And then on the back, they're black and white patterns. So they're very, very versatile. A wonderful set of designer series paper. But this top one here coordinates exactly with the embossing folder. I don't think Stampin' Up has ever done this before. We have coordinated between punches and designer series paper and dies and designer series paper, but I think this is the first time that we have coordinated an embossing folder with some designer series paper. So let me try to show you. I know it's going to be kind of hard to see on the camera, but what you're going to do is you're going to line up the paper with the like I said, it's going to be really hard to see. You just have to take your time and line up the pattern. You line up the pattern with the embossing folder. Hopefully you can see how that, you can see the outline going around the flowers. So when you emboss it, this is what it looks like. And again, I hope you can see that on camera. I want to compare the 2 so you can see. This is not embossed and this is embossed. So can you see the dimension on there? It's just amazing. I can't believe they did this. But anyway, that's why I really had to have this embossing folder. I just had to have it when I saw that. And isn't that a beautiful card? I added a little bit of splatter with a marker, and then I added a die-cut flower with a simple sentiment, and these are, the sentiment is from the Shaded Summer stamp set that's in the annual catalog, and these flowers are actually a celebration item that is free with a $100 purchase, but these coordinate with this shaded summer stamp set, and these are called the Summer Shadows dies. But I used these dies, the flower dies and the leaf dies, to cut that out. Isn't that a pretty card? And then this label is from the Tasteful Labels dies that I use all the time. So anyway, so that is just, I think it's a beautiful card. So set that aside. Next, I did another one where I used the embossing folder and that designer series paper. And again, this sentiment is from the same shaded summer stamp set, but you'll notice this shiny paper. Isn't that beautiful? That is yet another celebration item. This is free with a $50 purchase. This is called the Bedazzling 6x6 specialty paper. Oh my goodness, isn't that beautiful? It's just so shiny. It's not glitter paper, it's different. It kind of reminds me of a mirror ball, a mirror disco ball. But isn't that pretty? So much bling. So, and this is retired ribbon, but isn't that a pretty card? I just love how that embossed DSP looks. It's amazing that they lined that up. So there's that one. I have another card here that uses that same bedazzling paper, and this happy birthday sentiment is once again from this shaded summer stamp set. I love that these sentiments on here. I like the stamped images as well, and I use those. You can see them right here peeking behind the backdrop. I believe I used this stamp here, but I wanted to share with you how to do this this part, which uses the embossing folder. So let me set this aside and clear some space. We're going to get a little bit inky here. What I've done is I have pre-cut a piece of Coastal Cabana cardstock with the rectangle stitch dies. And what I do want to recommend that is if you are going to emboss anything with any embossing folder, and also want to cut it out with a different label die or the stitched rectangle dies, you want to cut the rectangle piece first, or the die cut first, and then through the embossing folder, because if you do the embossing folder first and then run it again through any kind of a label die or any other die cut, you're going to flatten the embossing that you just did. So always do the cutting first and then the embossing. Hopefully that makes sense. But I have this piece here, which is what I used on this card, and I wanted to show you how I got that dark color. What I used was a one ink color darker. So this is Coastal Cabana cardstock, and this is Bermuda Bay ink. And all I'm going to do is open up my ink pad, and then I'm just going to lightly, with a very light touch, go over the top. Oops, I went too heavy. You just want to lightly brush. I went a little bit too heavy over here, but you just want to lightly brush the paper with your ink pad. So hopefully you get that idea. I did a little bit heavy right there, but anyway, that is how I used, that is what I did to use this. You can see here I went a little bit over too, but I don't think that you really notice that because you call attention to other things on the card. But direct to paper. You could also maybe use a brayer, but again with just a really light touch, but just ink to paper to get that. So that is how I did that particular card. So set those aside, and I have one more card sample to show you. So this one I embossed a piece of our basic white cardstock, and then I used my blends to color. This one, the previous one I just used the ink pad, but now I'm going to use a couple of different blends. So for this, I'm not going to color the whole thing for you. I'm just going to show you kind of what we're doing. I did Mango Melody, and you just kind of be careful. You don't want to go over the edges, but just kind of lightly color the tops of the embossing of wherever you want that color. So like I wanted that to be the yellow, and I'll take this one to do some green leaves. Now, these are alcohol markers, and they do tend to bleed a little bit, so just kind of go over, just kind of be careful and go over it. If you do happen to go into the area that you don't want to, you can use your color lifter to remove it. I did that quite a bit on this one. You can see I went outside the lines a little bit there, so I just used my color lifter to just kind of push the ink back in. And sometimes I didn't. You can see I used it there, but you know, that's okay. This is a handmade card after all, but I did want to share with you that this is one other idea that you can use with this embossing folder. So you get the idea. You just kind of go, just take your time and go over the parts that are raised, and hopefully don't get too much that's inside between the raised parts. Remember to always cap your blends, your alcohol markers, so they don't dry out. So like I said, I would just continue to color that, and then I came up with this card, and this sentiment is from Color and Contour, I believe. Let me see if I can find it. Yes. Here's the Color and Contour stamp set. Thank you for everything. That's what I put there in that card. So there you have it. I have 5 different examples. Let me pull them back in. I've got them all kind of spread out over here now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are the 5 different ideas that you can do using the Pretty Flowers embossing folder. So I hope you found this helpful, and I hope that you get this folder. Don't overlook it like I did. It can do so much. It's not just a simple embossing folder. You can do a lot with it. So thank you again so much for watching. Oh, and as with all of my videos, if you are interested in any of the products that I share in these videos, I provide links in the description box below that link to all of the products that I used. And today's will be no different. So I hope you learned something new. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.